Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity for to giving to me to allow me to share my experience about Chinese nuclear tests. My work about Chinese nuclear tests probably cannot be treated as an academic work, since I am just an ordinary doctor. And my work also cannot be treated as that research work. The reason is that I just come across with all this stuff. I made some primitive work. And after this I have done, I have to leave the country. And since then, I couldn't go back to the country, go back to there to do field work. Therefore, whatever I'm telling you is based on my old experience and new research. So strictly speaking, it's not the really academic work. Okay, this is my experience. My first encounter with that nuclear bomb is in 1973. It is that day I was going to school, and there's very fine dust falling from the sky. And then the day was deadly silenced. And we didn't know what was happening. So at the school, we asked the teacher, and the teacher told us that there was storm on the Saturn. You know why? Because in Chinese term, Saturn's name is Tuxing. Tuxing, it means Earth planet. Of course, if on that planet, if there's storm, of course we will see this Earth falling from the sky. And that is how we know about Chinese nuclear tests. We have to mention that Korean War, because during the Korean War, because Chinese involved with that Korean War, and despite that Americans fighting power, they couldn't stand to see that so many young lives are losing. And they saw that the Chinese Communist Party, they don't care people's soldiers' life. Chinese soldiers just keep coming and they keep coming. So President Truman threatened to use atom bomb to stop this war. So that has made the Chinese to determined to build a nuclear bomb. And that is how it started. This area is Lopnor. And that term, we know it is associated with the Chinese nuclear test site. In reality, it's not. Lopnor is here, but nuclear test site is here. Why? Because the general who built this nuclear test site, he moved this to this direction 200 kilometers. Why? Because then he can get water from this lake. So by doing so, this site is very close to the where people live. So this is the first tower, and as you can see, and this is the underground nuclear test facility, and this is the one I encountered. As you can see, Chinese, they're only testing this weapon in Xinjiang but they designing, production, and storage all are in China. Only they test such weapon in our land. This is the hospital where I used to work. Now I want to tell you that the effect of that Chinese nuclear test program. And this hospital, it is a Chinese tumor hospital in Xinjiang. And this part is built in 1994. And in 2007, those two has been built. And this hospital becomes the largest provincial hospital in China that is located in Urumqi. And look, Xinjiang population is 25 million. And there's another province called Henan. Henan province, they have 100 million. But despite that, the hospital in Xinjiang is a 2,500 bedded hospital, whereas that in Henan only 850 beds. That is hugely disbalanced. The cost of this and the human cost of this Chinese nuclear test program, we have to mention this, that shortly after Korean War, Chinese government was under a United States sanction for participating in the Korean War. For that reason, also that Korean War has already crushed the Chinese economy. But how, despite that, how Chinese government has afforded to build nuclear bomb? And that we might find the answer from this. Because in 1958, 59, 60s, there's 3 years starvation. 60 to 70 million people were killed, starved to death. The reason still is not clear. But what we know is that despite Chinese poor economy, they have diverted huge, enormous amount of energy from the people's mouth to feed that nuclear testing program. And then as a result, they have successfully built that atom bomb, but in what cost? 60 to 70 million people died in the starvation in whole China, across China. And that so far no one has mentioned that yet. And in Lopnor, the environment is different with that Hiroshima. Hiroshima is a wetland. So after a nuclear bomb, the nuclear dust fell back to Earth as black rain. But in Lopnor, there has been rain. There's never been rain for thousands, even million years. So nuclear bomb exploded, that nuclear particles floating in air. And then when all the time, and when it come to your body from your lungs, and it will be the permanent cancer-causing spot. And that explains why in Xinjiang, the cancer patients, number of cancer patients is out of control. And not only that, Chinese is receiving money from around the world. At least we have documents that Taiwan's nuclear waste is sending to China, burying. Of course, this is 2009. But since Chinese don't tell us anything, we don't know what else has been buried there. So what we want from this, it is we want independent investigation and the compensation for the local people and the free medical care to the local people who had cancer, and end of dumping the nuclear waste, because we want a clean homeland to live. Thank you very much.